on secret. One of the reasons why I wanted to interview a little earlier. The first thing I lead with is, hey, I'm a big fan of Daniel Cormier. And I can't give gym advice. So, I mean, I go to the gym, but I don't do that kind of gym.
Right.
I see a bright future for Kevin.
I hope so, man.
It seems like you're doing the right thing. You're not burning bridges. You're just moving forward.
All right, guys, this is Crazy Kev here, and I'm here with big-time YouTuber Mma Holes. How you doing, my man?
How you doing? How's it going today?
Man.
It's good to be here. It's good to be wonderful.
Wonderful.
Oh yeah. So, we were just talking a little bit, man. I had a fan that reached out there, like, you gotta check out this Mma Holes, guys. He's one of the top MMA guys out there. Talk to us a little bit about your YouTube channel, kind of how you got started, and just getting into it.
Okay, so the year was 2016. I was a young man in a bad place in my life, and I was partying, I was drinking, I was doing all sorts of bad, naughty things. And I decided to start a podcast with a couple of friends of mine, just to go online and talk about the UFC, basically. And as we were doing that, we had a lot of fun. I saw that Joe Rogan was doing a fight companion, and I was like, you know what? There's no fight companion out there that actually speaks to the audience or has like a fully interactive thing going on. This is 2016. Like, if you looked at MMA YouTube, it didn't even really exist. It was a couple of channels out there that delivered content, but when it came to like live fight reaction, there was no like in real time play-by-play or, dabbling into the chat back and forth action. So I was like, you know what? This community needs to be made. So we decided to come up with the Mma Holes, fully interactive, for 8 years. In August 2016 is when we started. August of this year, 22, is when we hit 8 years of doing this. So very fortunate, very lucky to be doing the Mma Holes.
Yeah, and it's definitely an awesome channel, man. And when it comes to just the Mma Holes in general, man, what's maybe some of your favorite type of videos to make for your channel?
Okay, so we predominantly live stream. Just recently, after doing this for almost 8 years, we were like, okay, let's make some videos now. But usually we're live. I love the live interaction. I love the cringe. I love the fact that the audience can donate and interrupt interviews. And when we're doing our play-by-play, they can put in some cringy comments and stuff like that. So predominantly live streams is what we do. But now we've been starting to make shorts and uploads as well to kind of balance out the channel.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. And, speaking about like people jumping on the show, do you happen to have maybe a favorite memory from someone jumping on the show?
My all-time. So first off, befriending Bruce Buffer was like a phenomenal thing. I'll tell you a quick story. The mighty Bruce Buffer did our show a couple years back, and it started from us ordering a cameo from him, and it just kind of evolved into, hey, you want to come on the program? And then Bruce came on the show and we asked him very cringy questions. He rolled with the punches. We asked him, hey, do you yell "it's time" when you're having sex? Stupid stuff like that. And can I curse on here? I don't want to.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. Stupid shit like that. And we asked him, at the time we had a bidet sponsor, and we said, hey, Bruce, you want to jump on Lux Bidet? We can send you one. And he was like, he respected, like, he declined while we were doing the interview. And then we got a follow-up email from Bruce saying, hey, is it still on the table? You got to send the bidet. We're like, hell yeah. So we sent him the bidet. He gave us his phone number. And I looked at my co-host, Jesse, my wife now, and I was like, we're buddies with Bruce Buffer. This is fantastic. So the connections we made along the way, like guys like Mike Goldberg and Bruce Buffer in the UFC. We had Jon Jones pop on the show. To name one time, it would be almost impossible, but those are the big highlights in our YouTube career.
Yeah, so getting back into Bruce Buffer and Jon Jones, I guess what was that, maybe that first athlete where you were maybe like like starstruck, like, wow, like this guy like knows me now, or talk us a little bit more about that.
So the Jon Jones thing is the one that really sticks out there, because I was back in New York doing this. And by the way, where are you out of?
I'm in Philadelphia, actually.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I was on the East Coast for many years, and then we decided to move over to Arizona. But when I was over in New York, I would just show up at events and just harass people. I harassed Luke Thomas endlessly. If you dig into our channel, you'll see me hopping on his Sirius, grabbing the mic, making fun of him. We've had him on the program, going back and forth. And as I was harassing people, I ran into this guy that was at Jackson Wink's dorm, And when we were doing an interview, he was a bigger than life character, this kid. He thought he was Conor McGregor at the time. And it was during the Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor thing. And as we're interviewing him in the Jackson Wink dorm, a guy is in the background, and it happens to be Jon Jones. He was about to fight Daniel Cormier. And at the time, I was a big Daniel Cormier fan. So this guy's like, hey, you want Jon Jones on? I'm like, oh my God. I was like, here I am in my little studio, crammed into my apartment, and Jon Jones is about to walk on the screen. This is insane. So I'm excited. I'm giddy. It's on our highlight reel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see the trailer. It's smacked in there. And Jon puts on the earphones. He comes on and he says, hey, what's up, buddy? And I'm like, hey, Jon. And the first thing I lead with is, hey, I'm a big fan of Daniel Cormier. And and I just completely blew it up. And he's like, oh, this fucking guy. And he just walked off. He walked off. And yeah, everyone in the chat was just lighting me up because, like, oh my God, Jon Jones is here. And then next thing you know, they're like, there goes, you fucked it up, you know. But it's such a funny thing to look back on. Since then, Jon has come on with another athlete. Devin Clark was on the program. He popped in real quick again. So I guess he was a good sport there. But yeah, that was the biggest thing where I was just like, oh my God, the GOAT is here.
Yeah, no, that's hilarious. I had no idea about that Daniel Cormier thing. That's hilarious too. That's definitely like a Jon Jones thing that he would definitely do. And you know, I was at work. This is the first time I saw your channel, and obviously I turned on that newest Cody Durden interview you had. It's just hilarious from beginning to end. What's maybe some of your favorite moments? I guess with that newest Cody Durden interview you have out.
Oh my God. So Cody, I'm a weird interviewer because I kind of try to interview them like they're my bud. You know, and I'll ask them like their dick size. I'll ask, you know, I'll fuck with them. You know, I'll say, hey, what do you think about women's MMA? You know, like, you know, I throw things at them, and guys like Cody Durden are fantastic to interview because he's like one of the boys, you know, and also he's represented by Ali Abdelaziz, and Ali's the type of guy that kind of keeps his fighters on a short leash. But Cody's not like that. Cody is open. He'll do podcasts and interviews. He likes to get his name out. And the way he responds to questions is just perfect. And we've had athletes along the way respond very well. One guy, though, that we've had on twice, Aljamain Sterling, we had a moment with him. It was a little awkward. A guy donated, pretended his name was Big Ebony Honey Buns, and was flirting with Aljo throughout the interview. And we've never had Aljo on since. So I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, that was a weird thing.
Yeah, 100%, man. And you know, I guess you know, getting back into your YouTube channel, I guess when you first got started, or you know, just maybe in general now since you're a lot bigger, what's maybe some of like the best equipment to kind of have, like when you first started, maybe just, you know, also when you're kind of at your level as well too.
So equipment, I got this Shure, what is it, the SM? This is the one that Rogan uses, Robin Quivers, Michael Jackson, you know, recorded Beat It on this microphone. Like anytime you see a podcast, you know, they typically have this one. So what did I do? I ran out and I was like, well, in order for me to be a big time podcast, YouTube, whatever the hell you want to call us, I needed this microphone. And I got to be honest with you, it's the most overrated fucking microphone ever. So there's so many microphones that I think sound better. This thing needs phantom power. This thing needs an extra like hookup to amplify the voice. It's just annoying. You could hear the sounds in the background. Now I got to do noise control and that stuff. So to any person out there, I never like to say get the best equipment. I think, honestly, it's about the content. It's about you as a personality. What you're bringing to the audience is overpowers equipment. But if you want to know the equipment, I got a Yamaha MG10XU. That's my mixer. My soundboard is like the first ever tablet made. I had it laying around in my drawer. 8 years strong. It's been my soundboard.
Wonderful.
Monitors, I got a nice wraparound monitor. Like I have fancy stuff throughout the years that I did, but you don't really need any fancy equipment to deliver good content.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense, man. And, you know, not trying to like look around or anything, but like your background, is that a green screen? Is that your house? You know, what is that, I guess?
So when we were in New York, I had the Orange Studio. That was the thing. And anytime people would send us stuff, I would have shit all over the background. I liked the Orange Studio. It gave it personality, pizzazz. But then when we moved to Arizona, my studio is my main bedroom. Like my fucking main bedroom, I sacrificed to just build a studio, and I have a giant green screen behind me. Like the wall is wrapped around green screen, and it gives us options to do really weird, cringy stuff. And funny story, when we connected with Mike Goldberg, the voice of the Octagon, John Anik took his job. He's a real shithead. But anyway, Mike Goldberg, one of the GOATs, we connected with him, and for some reason he said yes to coming in on a fight reaction. And here I am in my bedroom studio, and in walks in Mike Goldberg. So, just walking in, I'm like, how's it feel to be in my bedroom right now, Mike Goldberg? But yeah, anyway, this is all fake behind me. The backyard is actually my backyard that I superimposed in the background there. But every scene that you see on our show is all like, CGI.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's incredible, man. That's definitely pretty cool. And you're rocking a UFC shirt, obviously a UFC fan. Have you been to any sort of UFC live events? And if so, what's maybe your favorite memory for them?
Okay. So I've been to a bunch. My last ever UFC event, and I like to say I retired there going to events because now we do all the fight reactions.
Right.
But my last one was UFC 217.
Okay.
That was the final card where GSP fought Michael Bisping, moved up the weight class. He retired at that card. And the beautiful thing about that card, top to bottom, was stacked. It was Madison Square Garden. And the 3 title fights changed waists. Never happened before in the UFC. So it was a big deal. And I said, you know what? That's it. That's it. That's the last event. Now, eventually down the road, I'll probably go again. But another notable mention would be UFC 196 was when Conor McGregor lost to Nate Diaz. I was in that building, and that place went ole, ole, ole. And then as soon as Nate choked him the fuck out, the crowd just switched over to Nate fans, and everyone went fucking berserk. It was insanity. I was also in the building, Jon Jones versus Chael Sonnen in Newark, which next weekend we'll have that UFC 302 event. And that's when Jon Jones broke his toe and fought Chael. I don't know why they made that matchup because it was a complete mismatch. Chael said he was in there with a bear. So there was a couple of big moments. I was in there when I was at UFC. It was a fight night in Boston where McGregor defeated Dennis Seaver. He ran over him, jumped over the cage. Jose Aldo was out there and they were screaming at each other. I've been to a bunch, but those are the ones that really stand out.
Very nice. Speaking of that with that Newark card, I'm actually going to be at that Newark card in 302. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And another thing I was curious about too, obviously, you do those fight reactions, all that different stuff. Talk to us a little bit more about like the YouTube copyright. Like how are you able to, kind of get around that stuff and, make the videos, kind of how you do.
So being a live streamer on YouTube is very difficult because when you're doing hours of content, those bots that YouTube sends out there flag you for the dumbest stuff. And we had about 8 copyright strikes along the way. And there have been times where the channel was shut down for 3 months. Now, 6 years out of our run, we've been doing this for full time. So when YouTube says, okay, lights off, you can't live stream, it's devastating for us. So we've learned throughout the way to do things where it doesn't get flagged. Now, we are very edgy. We're edgy content, but we understand the line that you can't cross when it comes to community guidelines. We understand now with copyright strikes. I mean, there are companies out there that flag you false for stuff they don't even own. And we understand what you can battle and what you can't battle. And that's what we learned along the way. But YouTube is rough when it comes to those bots because it's still not a perfect system. And if you're a live streamer, it really could destroy you. Now, if you're doing uploads, you're okay. You'll be all right. There are new ways of going against YouTube and appealing these things are easier now than a couple of years back. But live streaming is rough because being shut down for, 3 months could really cripple you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely seems like it. And another thing I guess I was curious about too, when it just comes to like all the different stuff like you're making like with the content and stuff, when did you officially kind of hit that full time, doing MMA holes full time, and like what was maybe the subscriber number, and talk to us a little bit more about that.
Oh man. Like I said, it was approximately like 1.5 to 2 years into doing it. I discovered Streamlabs, which allowed us to do live alerts. And we were getting sponsors, but sponsors weren't completely paying the bills. By the way, shout out to MyBookie. Can I shout out my sponsor over here?
Oh, yeah.
Use that promo code MMAHOLES. MyBookie has been phenomenal with us. Absolutely phenomenal. We're launching a website this week, and I'll plug it later. But anyway, so when we decided to do live alerts where people could donate and play songs, like I put together all the songs for our channel. It's cringy. A GIF pops up. And we took that idea from gamers. Gamer streams were doing that. Everyone in the MMA space, combat sports space, no one was doing any sort of live streams that had live pop-up donation alerts. Now you see they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. but back in the day, it wasn't a thing. So once I started monetizing through Streamlabs, people were just supporting us in ways that I couldn't even believe. And I realized that we could monetize this channel outside of AdSense, because AdSense pays us peanuts, through fan funding. And once we realized and saw consistency throughout the months, and the people really believed in us, we realized, hey, we could go full time with this thing. So we made a lot of sacrifices in our real life. And yeah, like 6 years strong, we've been doing this. We've accumulated sponsors that helped out along the way, because when you have kids, you can't just rely on donations. So now we have sponsors as well. But donations were key. And now you guys have memberships with YouTube. Dude, memberships are phenomenal. If you get monetized on YouTube, I urge you immediately open up your memberships, because that has been a backbone for us the last like 2 years.
That's awesome. That's really incredible, man. That's definitely some good insight. And another thing too, I was curious about. What do you think is maybe the most important part about like making videos? Do you think it's the thumbnails, the intros? Talk to us more about that.
So, okay. I notice a lot of upload YouTubers, like for instance, I'll throw out guys like MMA Guru, who is like, I mean, this kid has just fucking exploded. And if you look at his thumbnails, he's consistent. He's branded his fucking weird mongoloid face well. And it's like guys like Jesse on Fire, who we're friendly with, like he does it like tabloid thumbnails. I think once you find that niche once you find that angle that people look at that thumbnail and say, oh, that's your brand. I think that is the key. But we haven't really, it's funny, like we've changed our types of thumbnails throughout the years.
Yeah.
That's probably our weakest point. Like I'm a creative guy, but I am so weird because I want a different looking thumbnail every time. And it's probably not recommended. I say stay consistent. Look at those big channels out there that are getting crazy views. And you see that thumbnail, that's that content creator. So if you see Kevin's thumbnail, like, oh shit, Kevin's got another piece of content out there. So that's probably the best advice I can give.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And you did just mention Jesse on Fire. That's another person that somebody else was throwing out there for like channels to check out. I guess how'd you kind of meet him and talk to us more about his channel?
Yeah, we collabed a couple of times with Jesse. Jesse is, I think the best thing I could say about Jesse on Fire is he is a great networker. He hasn't really burnt a bridge. He has literally got in bed with guys like Chael Sonnen, and he schmoozes very, very well. So that's between that, his grind, his hustle, we've kind of connected, and he's exploded. He's absolutely exploded. And he's a very, I think Adderall's helped him tremendously. Adderall and Kratom. Jesse, I mean, it's a secret sauce, right? But no, he slid into the DMs a little while back, and he basically said, we had a guy running our social. He's like, hey, I think we could be great friends. We should go on vacation together. Like that. Those are the first things that Jesse said to us. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, is this guy fucking on crack? Right. and we wound up firing our social media person. And I started responding to him. I was like, this guy's actually a good dude. Like he's a straight up guy. So yeah, we collaborated a couple of times, and he's actually, I respect the man's grind tremendously.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'll have to check out his channel a little bit more, because like I said, he was definitely another guy that was kind of thrown in the hat with your name. And checking out your arm a little bit, man. Can you talk to us more about your tattoos, man? They're pretty sick from what I can see.
Oh, yeah, so here's the MMA Holes tattoo. I got 1,000 subscribers. I said
awesome.
I said to everyone, I was like, yo, you hit me to 1K. Like 1K was the biggest for me. When we hit 1K and 10K, I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I said, hey, get us to 1K. I'm gonna slap this on my arm. So I slapped that on my arm. Down my back, I got every 10,000 subscribers until we hit 100K. I got like these Roman numerals going down my back. So that's like, that means so much to me. But everything else on here was like buddies practicing on me. I was like, hey, this means something to me right now. Slap it on my arm. I don't give a shit how it looks. And they just went to town, and I get like this is an honorable mention. I have a tattoo just that says awesome, because I just want an awesome tattoo. I want to have the awesome tattoo. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah, very nice. Now, with you having so many tattoos, and like you said, your friends are kind of practicing on you, do you have any tattoos you maybe regret?
I look at it like this: no regrets, right?
Yeah.
I think as long as a tattoo solidifies a moment on your body, so you could look down and say, oh, that was when that happened, or that was when this meant something to me. Like I have a cat paw. I don't even fucking know where it is, but like this little cat paw. I don't know if you could see it over here. Anyway, when my cat died, I put that on me, and it means the world to me. So everything I look at on my arm, it signifies a portion of my life. I was a photographer for a little while, so I have a little camera over here. It's just like a story. It tells a story. So I don't regret anything. Um, yeah, as long as, even if I didn't tattoo an X on me, but I will tattoo my wife, something that my wife, maybe a ring or something like that. And even if we split up, God forbid, knock on wood, down the road, I wouldn't regret it. I wouldn't, because I feel like it just marks moments in your life. It tells a story.
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely does. That's pretty cool stuff, man. And obviously, you're a cool content creator, making some awesome videos. What's maybe some stuff behind the scenes that maybe a fan might not know about you?
That's a good question. Shit, you're pretty good at this, Kevin.
I'm
You're
trying.
you're
I'm trying. I've only been doing it for 3 months. I love it though.
really, yeah.
Yeah,
Hold on, let me turn it around on you. Okay.
yeah.
So 3 months you've been doing this, and you've had some
February
pretty decent
24th.
size. Feb 24th. Okay. And what inspired you to do this?
Oh man, great question. So, I was just making martial arts videos because I'm a Taekwondo instructor. So I've been teaching for 6 years and training for 19 years. I'm only 24 years old, so
Oh,
martial
wow.
arts is really my life, man. So with that being said, Terrence McKinney, he's obviously always on X all the time, and I was just like, you know what? What's the best excuse I can get to kind of get these fighters to notice me and talk to me? So I just DM McKinney. I was like, hey man, you want to do an interview? And like I had maybe 100 subscribers max, if that. You know what I mean? He was like, "Yeah, let's do it in like an hour," and I was like, "It's as easy as that." You know what I mean? So I just got him on and researched the crap out of him. I had like 3 pages worth of papers for him, and like only for 15 minutes worth. And ever since then, I fell in love with it and just kind of been trying to get any athlete I can on, like amateurs, pros, just anything. And like I said, as a Taekwondo instructor, I just love it. And I think one day if I keep growing, I think my next level could maybe be like going to these athletes gym and training with them and doing like cool stuff like that, because especially because I have a lot of cool kicks, but my ground game's horrible. So like, they could definitely teach me some cool stuff on the ground. I can show them some cool kicks. And I think that could be the future of my channel if I keep growing. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit more about me.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Yo, that's a nice base that you got going on. You got a martial arts background. You got the balls to just get in front of a camera and start asking questions. So Terrence was your first official fighter interview?
Terrence McKinney was the very first interview period. Like I got there and my
Wow.
cameraman was all over the place. Like I put my mic on about 10 minutes before the interview. Like I had literally no experience, nothing. Like I was just like, here comes an interview with Terrence McKinney. Let's go. Let's just talk to him. And that was just kind of it. We just kind of went with it.
That's awesome. What were the nerves like? Because I remember the nerves on my first interview, especially a UFC fighter. What was your nerves like?
Oh my God. I had my buddy with me, my friend Steve. So I think that definitely kind of calmed the nerves a little bit, especially because, he's kind of hilarious. So I always knew like, if I was a little nervous, he could kind of take over with the questions. But just knowing that like I had a guy with like 150,000 like followers right off the rip, like no experience, nothing. It was just like, I hope I do a good job. I hope this isn't weird. And yeah, I mean, I was definitely pretty nervous, but I mean, everything went pretty well. And then, like I said, the next couple of days, I just started asking more and more fighters, and they were just willing to jump on. And yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, I think now I'm up to like 80, 90 interviews now, and I only have like 40 videos uploaded because I'm so behind. But yeah, I've been loving it, man. It's been awesome.
That's great. And do you like, when I do interviews, I do it like wrong. I don't prep. I basically, honestly, right before I go live, I look at Tapology and I'm like, okay, let's look at the resume real quick. Here we go. And I just throw myself into the fire. And I feel like by challenging myself that way, I can do it as unique as possible. But I do notice like a lot of people write down notes and stuff like that, and actually have points where they hit in the interview. And it seems like you've got that down pat, like you have it very organized as you go through the interviews.
I try to. I was talking to another guy. I believe his name's like the Korean John on X. He, in my opinion, is like one of the best. He's like super professional, but he's also pretty chill. So I kind of like that style
Mhm.
that he does. And he was kind of telling me, like if you have a list of questions, like don't have like a laundry list, but and also kind of listen to what your guest is kind of saying and kind of go from there. So yeah, when I was talking to him, that was maybe like a week or two ago. That kind of changed my outlook a little bit more on that stuff. But almost every interview, I would usually have like 3, 4 pages worth of questions for only like a 15, 20 minute interview, where most of my questions I don't even ask. And most of the time it is kind of off script and I try to listen to them. But I do think I like to listen to other people's interviews, like yours, for example. I was listening to Cody Durden's, and I was like, he mentioned the deer hunting. And then I was like, you didn't say a Hail Mary before you killed the deer. It's like little stuff like that where I heard it from your stuff, but I was able to kind of mix it into my own questions and kind of get a little bit more of that extra spin, where that's how I've been kind of making my interviews and kind of going from there, I guess.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny you mentioned that interview because later on we opened up phone lines and the
Uh,
deer called in. I don't know if you heard that, but
yeah, yeah, Bambi, right? That's hilarious. Yeah, like I said, that's my favorite part of the video.
Cody was like, "What the fuck, bro?" Uh,
And you're like
um,
Mike Perry too. You had like your mom asking about Mike Perry. I was like, what is going on? You know what I mean? This it was
yeah,
hilarious.
these people are nuts. I'm very influenced by old school Howard Stern back in the day, and
Okay.
the shit he used to do to his guests were like through the. So when I was like making this channel, I was like, okay, I want some of that, sprinkled into this nonsense. But yeah, you know what? Listening to I think something I'm still working on, and it's like probably the most important thing in an interview is listening. And a lot of people interview and they just rattle off the questions, but I feel when people give an answer, there's so much information, so many more questions you could ask from that answer, and the conversation flows a lot better, and that's what I'm working on now, like just listening and saying, okay, well, he said that, fuck this other question. Let's just go in this direction, because
Yeah.
it's something they're interested in talking about, right? If they respond and say something, answer to your question, usually it's something that they feel is important to them, and then you can piggyback off of that.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And I think this is a pretty cool nugget too that the Korean John told me that maybe I'm sure you probably do it too, but he definitely said that you should ask them about the predictions about how their fight. Not to me, I was like, okay, that's kind of a lame question. But then he was like,
Mm.
if you think about it, there's a lot of gamblers that watch these interviews, and they'll be like, are you go watching, or are you going to be interviewing that guy? So then when you ask them the prediction, I guess they get the kind of gambler's perspective, and then you'll kind of get more views from there, which again I thought was an interesting perspective. I've still never asked a fighter that to this day, but might be something I kind of might have to do in the future because I'm sure more gamblers will be tuning in if I keep doing more and more of these interviews.
Yeah, a lot of these fighters are sick of that question, but he's right because look at it. I don't know if you follow James Lynch at all. Do you follow
Yes,
him?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah. So I mean, James has made a career off of interviews, right? And he doesn't have to rely on YouTube. He just basically runs with these interviews and he makes sure he asks fighters predictions so he can do the pros picks. And yeah, you can literally take a nugget like a prediction and whatever fight week it is, you can drop it as a short, and that's a whole other piece of content. So you're getting 2 for 1 on the fighter. So yeah, he's 100% right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, my goal with the channel isn't even to just be like a pure interview. I'd like to kind of do what you're doing, a little bit more reactions and just kind of like, maybe predictions on the card and everything. But like, I just been getting interview after interview and it's just like, I can't stop. And I just like have so many videos and so behind. So just trying to catch up. But I think once I eventually do catch up, I like to kind of do a little bit more like style of your channel, reacting to this stuff. Cause I do think that's pretty awesome. And I think it would, just draw more fans. And it's just, like I said, martial arts, it's awesome. And I love talking about it. So whatever it kind of takes to kind of keep growing everything, I love it for sure.
Yeah, I tell you, interviews are tough. Not the interview itself, but it's the booking the guest is
Oh
so
yeah.
stressful. Like when I was telling you, hey, can we change this time? I felt horrible because I was like, oh my god, I know how it is. Like when you book a guest and you lock in a time and then they can't do a specific time or whatever, or people cancel last second, which is the worst. When we do
Oh
a
yeah.
live show, it's like we go live and the guest is there, and when they fucking cancel, I had like 2 people. Thank God, knock on wood. Throughout the 8 years, 2 people have canceled. But it infuriates me because I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I understand, I get it. Like you're a busy person, but at the same time, it's like, hey, we're trying to make a living here. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can't do it, just say no, and then we'll move on to another guest. It's very frustrating. So how do you, with 80 interviews, how do
Yeah.
you maintain a sane mind trying to book guests and just keep the party going?
Dude, I don't know how I keep an insane mind or a sane mind period because I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. Like my interview schedule, I guess during the week is about like 8 a.m. to 12. And then when my 12 p.m. interview is done, if I even have one, it'll probably be about 12:30. Then I have to jet to my job, which is, being a martial arts instructor. And that takes me about a half hour to get there. Then I work from 1 o'clock to 9:30. Then it takes me about, a half hour, 45 minutes to get home from there. So I have an insane schedule at the moment. And yeah, hopefully if I keep growing, maybe that could kind of change a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of, try my best to stay organized with it, try to write everyone down the second I kind of book them, and it gets crazy. I mean, the biggest weekend I ever had, which, is going to sound nuts. I think from maybe Friday to Sunday, I had 18 interviews and it was just insane. And then like, just the fact that like you mentioned, there would be guys like I had, like a guy I was getting ready to have on and he's like, oh, I fell asleep. I missed it. Or like, they just don't even answer. And it's like, oh, come on, like what's going on? Like if you're not going to show up, just tell me. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely get frustrated too. And it gets stressful with the time zones and stuff too. Like I've done people like Jack Jenkins where it's like freaking Sunday for him and like 10 o'clock for me. So it's like it definitely gets crazy, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, time zones are the worst.
Absolutely.
They're the worst because like no matter how many times you drill into the head, hey, this time zone, what's your time zone? You give them the time, somehow it still gets fucked up. It is annoying. Yeah.
I can't even tell you too how many fires I'll be like, it's Eastern time for me, and then like it will be like, let's say like 10 o'clock for me, but it's like 9 o'clock for them. I'll be like, all right, I'm here, let's go, and they're like, oh, it's only 9 o'clock for me, and I'm like, oh, bro, like we said Eastern time, but yeah, that definitely happens a lot too. Trust me.
You know, it's crazy though. Like some of the biggest interviewers out there have very small YouTube channels. Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
Like it's kind of crazy. So
yeah.
I think once you build a name and your Twitter seems like it's popping. So who knows? Maybe your lane would be Twitter. I know why you're going with YouTube though. YouTube is very easy to monetize. So I would definitely recommend YouTube considering, you know, from our experience with it. But I see the value in Twitter as well. I see a lot of these influencers and interviewers and just content creators on Twitter make a big name for themselves. So, I mean, if they don't like what's going on YouTube, say, hey, listen, check out my engagement on Twitter, man. People like me over here. So, yeah, I think you're on the right path, though. It seems like you got a good head on your shoulders. I feel like that martial arts background too. Like, I don't have that martial arts background. I am a white belt in judo. I dropped out when I played more hockey than combat.
Okay.
Yeah, but I respect the martial arts and being lucky enough to do a lot of the interviews and cage interviews and all that stuff. Like being like face to face with people with rearranged faces after competing, like it's humbling, man. Seeing what a martial artist is capable of doing, seeing the discipline of the martial artists out there, and I have a lot of respect for everyone that trains for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny that you mentioned you play a little bit of hockey because this morning, and I actually do it sometimes on the weekends too, like when my interviews are a little bit lighter and just for extra side money too. I'm actually a scorekeeper as well too at a hockey rink that's pretty close to me. So, like, I've done like college, kids games, all sorts of different stuff, high school. So, yeah, I just basically I'm a scorekeeper too. Like I'll play the music for the guys. I'll do the big screen, obviously. So that's a lot of fun too. And I do that a little bit on the side too.
Well, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. One of the reasons why I wanted to interview a little earlier, usually it's business, but Sunday we're off. The Rangers are playing. The Rangers, I
Oh, there you go. That makes sense. That makes sense.
I don't want to be unprofessional here, but yeah, like I was literally like when I would have never even said anything to you because usually when I make a schedule, I'm like, good, but I didn't know when game 3 was going to start. And I saw noon over here in Arizona. I'm like, fuck. I was like, holy shit. So that is the reason,
That's all good. No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You have, like I said, you have your life, man. I totally get it. And like I said, I'm nobody yet. I'm just trying to learn and grow. But yeah, man, like that's kind of funny. And yeah, I do that on the side. I'm just a scorekeeper with hockey, a martial arts instructor, and then I guess doing the interviews right now. So I'm just doing my thing.
Well, next time I hit the East Coast or Philadelphia, I want to go in the gym. I did see the kicks you were throwing out there. Dude, your balance is ridiculous. Like it's crazy, man. How long did it take you to be able to pull that off?
Yeah, I mean, well, I used to I still do it, obviously, but I used to train 5 times a week. So, I mean, I was there all the time as a kid. I started when I was 5 years old. And yeah, my karate teacher's awesome, man. He would just kind of always push me to my limits. I was always in class. I always had my head down, never really said a word, and just kind of whatever he told me to do, I was always there to do it. And yeah, I guess that's kind of just how I, have started my martial arts career. And that's how I've always been doing things.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think having that background helps tremendously. A lot of people ask me like, okay, what do I do? I'm trying to start a YouTube channel. I'm trying to start, whatever, making content. Where do I start? How do I get started? And I always tell them good luck because now you're competing not only against the OGs that have been doing this forever, but you're also competing against UFC fighters.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
this is where it gets scary. When we were doing this in 2016, there was no one I mean, armchair quarterbacks were the only way. Like we went in there saying, hey, I like watching this. I like watching that. Let's talk about it. Now you're getting content, you're getting interviews, you're getting fight reactions from champions. And it's kind of crazy,
Yeah.
so now the pool it's just filled with so many different personalities. So the fact that you have a martial arts background, I think will give you an edge over the armchair quarterback, YouTuber or whatever. And your connections that you're making along the way too is going to help tremendously. So I see a bright future for Kevin.
I hope so, man. Yeah, I mean, speak about that too, because that's kind of how I met Buckley on his Instagram Live. It was like randomly, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. He was doing like some kind of like talent show on his Instagram, and he had like some kid drink like a massive gallon of water on his Instagram, and then he kicked him off. And then he's like, all right, who's next? Who's next? And I requested it, and he was like, And then it was like, you're going live in 10 seconds. I'm like, holy crap. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my bed. I'm moving all this stuff real quick in my house, put my camera down. He's like, oh, what's up, man? You about to start breakdancing? I'm like, no, I'm not going to breakdance. I'm going to throw some kicks for you, man. And then, yeah. And then, like I said, I was like, oh, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't wake my dog up. Let me just do a couple quiet kicks for him. And he was like, man, dude, that was awesome. And then he was like looking at the background of my house. This isn't my house. This is my grandfather's basement. But anyways, he was like, look at your trophies and stuff, man. He's like, you're not no second place guy, right? So I was showing him all my black belts. I was showing him all my medals and stuff. And yeah, he followed me on X afterwards. And we haven't got an interview yet, but he like randomly commented on my video the other day of me like breaking boards and stuff. Like, so it's kind of wild that he like, he respected my game too. And I think some other fighters, when I kind of reach out and I'm like, hey, I'm a Taekwondo instructor, they kind of respect it a little bit more than kind of the average guy that's just kind of like, hey, I'm kind of building my podcast kind of deal. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Like I said, they don't have to do,
No.
Joe Schmo, shitting on women's MMA or whatever. Like they don't have to do that,
Right.
and I actually respect that. A wise man once said, never, I can't remember who the fuck said it, but I remember it stuck in my head. Someone said, never feel like they're obligated to do your interview, right? Like they
Oh, yeah.
don't have to do it.
No.
That's they're a professional. I mean, if you go to a baseball player's DMs or an NFL player's DMs, they're not even going to answer you.
No.
Like the fact that UFC fighters do answer you is something pretty special. And it's only because we're in the early stages of the UFC. I'm telling you, 10, 20 years down the road, it's not going to happen anymore. But right now, we're very lucky to be able to communicate with the highest of level athletes in mixed martial arts, the UFC, whatever. And we should be very humble instead of feeling like, oh, you're not going to do my show. Fuck you. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I remember one of my very first interviews, probably like under one of my 10 episodes, we had Chad Enhelliger on, and I was talking to my buddy Steve beforehand. I'm like, oh man, this interview is going to be awkward because he's definitely getting smoked. And he was like, oh, I'm going to tell him. I'm like, dude, you better not. And then sure enough, he tells him, and he's like, Chad's like, oh, you're going to eat crow for that, I promise. And then, I'm like, oh my God, like I just blew it. I'm such an asshole. Then sure enough, Chad does win. He looked awesome in his performance. Then, at the end of the back, I'm like, you know what? You're right. I shouldn't have bet against you. And, but yeah, I usually don't do that stuff. I try to stay professional, but yeah, like I said, that was kind of the early stages with it too. So I definitely remember that too when I first started.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of things that you're probably going to regret. You look back and it might not actually work out well. I've had I made friends with Will Harris from Anatomy of a Fighter. I don't know if you've ever followed his stuff. Documentary guy. Yeah. So it all started with, there was a guy in our chat that was a complete racist asshole, and he would donate during our streams the most fucked up shit. He would slide into this guy's DMs and just talk shit about Will. And Will hopped in our live chat, and I was like, oh shit, it's Anatomy of a Fighter. And like we kind of squashed it because I was like, yo, I'm not sending this motherfucker. Like, I don't control these people. They're lunatics, right?
Yeah.
And we wound up being cool. And Will Harris has been on Joe Rogan multiple times. He's now a moderator on our channel. Like, I fucking love him. Had him on the show a bunch of times. He's an awesome dude. And it all happened because someone was like saying the N-word or whatever, or saying dumb shit.
Yeah.
So it's funny, like you get embarrassed or something happens weird, it might actually turn into something fantastic,
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely crazy. And it was especially funny because like my buddy Steve, he was just like a funny guy. So I just figured, like I just bring him on because he's kind of the funny guy, and I'll be like the UFC guy. So like he knew like absolutely nothing about like Chad or just any of these fighters. Like it was kind of like what you said. Like I'd be like, all right, man, like here's the Tapology page. Like I'd have it printed out for him. He's like looking at it like right before like having the guy on and everything. So he was just kind of winging it all the time. And I just had like my big list of questions. So it was kind of a funny 1-2 punch, but then he ended up getting a job. So now it's just kind of been me running with it. And but yeah, like you said, you definitely can kind of have those embarrassing moments kind of actually be a good thing because that ended up being like one of the best viewed shorts I guess I posted too.
There you go. It's funny. When I started with 3 of my other buddies, they all left. They all bounced. And I was like the narcissist that just kept moving forward, doing it by myself. And I hear it. I understand. I totally get it. Like you're with your buddy. Hey, this is going to be a thing. We're going to become superstars and we're going to work together. It's going to be fantastic. And they're like, no, I have a life. Right. And they do their own thing. But if you keep grinding, that's what I did. I kept grinding. And next thing you know, I fucking ran into my wife through doing this channel. Like it was the most bizarre. She was my co-host, then became my wife. Now we got 2 kids. It just snowballed from that. So it is weird. It just goes to show you, like, if you keep grinding and doing something that you truly enjoy to do, it's all going to pay off in the long run, as long as you just stay, on path,
Yeah, yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I mean, I think the coolest like memory or one of I would say so far was I posted a tweet about like one of the big UFC stars that I emailed them, and I guess like their manager was like, we only want like tier 1 media, so like we're not interested in like an interview with you. And I'm like, so I posted like my response back of like, hey, it is what it is, totally get it, but I'm gonna keep working hard, and you'll see me around one day. It might not be this year, might not be in a couple of years, but we'll do it one day. I know it. And then the tweet ended up getting like 200,000 views, and I ended up getting like maybe like 5 or 6 fighters like they actually DM me and were like, hey, I'm not a big name, but like I'm down. And they all ended up, being a man of their word, and I had them all on the show. And I think that's one of my favorite memories too, is I think a lot of the fighters saw that and recognized like, hey, this guy is willing to, work hard and put out a good show like for anybody. And I think that's kind of one of my favorite moments for sure, I guess, about my channel.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's a fantastic. It seems like you're doing the right thing. You're not burning bridges. You're just moving forward. You're learning from, you're like, okay, you don't think I can do it? I'll show you.
Yeah.
I think that's a smart attack and approach. And it seems on Twitter too. It's people as toxic as Twitter could be. It does seem like you can take the nice path. I've seen guys out there burn no bridges, just stay on course, avoid the trolling, and become successful. So it seems like, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Good foundation.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said it too. It's like, I guess, like, there's never a hater that's bigger than you. So, you know what I mean? I think a lot of those guys that, troll or whatever, they're probably a little jealous in a sense. And, I probably would be too, watching a guy that, like, just like me, only a couple months in, is talking to like a guy like Raul Rosas that has like
Mhm.
500,000 followers, where a guy's a lot bigger than me, probably can't get him on. But I think that little Taekwondo edge kind of helped me a little bit. And, yeah, so, I could definitely see where the haters come from with that sense. But, yeah, at the end of the day, you can't let it bother you. You can't really worry about if people are gonna, say this or whatever about you. You just gotta kind of do your thing. And I think one day, if you keep doing your thing, it will just keep working out and keep growing.
Yeah, I've learned that your biggest hater is your biggest fan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, they know way too much about you,
Yep.
it's like you're looking at them like, all right, you hate me, yet you know everything about me. So clearly you're watching my content, right? So I embrace them. Like if I put out a short of a lady that wrote this whole long thing about how I'm a misogynist or whatever, and my wife is this, and our channel is dying and whatever. She went on this whole thing. I put a short out on it, and I said, "Show me your tits." That was my response. But but I value her. Like I
Yeah.
made a short about her. It's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like she gave me content. So
Right.
that's how I look at it. I take whatever hate comes out there. If I feel like, hey, I can make content out of this, I'm gonna give them what they want. Let's go. I'm down
Yeah.
with
Yeah, yeah, man, no, definitely. And yeah, that's awesome. I'll have to check out that short. And one thing I like to ask everybody I bring on my show, man. I know you're not like a martial artist. You said you're a white belt in judo, but I'm curious what your response is going to be as a martial arts fan. With me being a Taekwondo instructor, I have about 153 guys now at my gym. And obviously, I said I've been teaching for 6 years, training for 19 years. What advice do you give to those guys to keep coming into the gym to keep on getting better and better every day?
Well, I can't give a gym advice. So I mean, I go to the gym, but I don't do that kind of gym.
Right.
But I think the grind, right? You have to stay on course. And when it comes to martial arts, I feel that it is made, not only do you know how to defend yourself, but it makes you a better person, right?
Yeah.
I've noticed anyone that I've dealt with in my life that has any martial arts background, most likely is humbled, does not look for trouble, is the last person that you would want. You don't want to fight with that person, but they're not going to look for a fight. They're not going to look for controversy because they're at peace. They're humbled inside the gym. And I think that is the most important thing that you get out of training, out of martial arts, out of any way you push yourself or humble yourself. So yeah, once my kids start going, I'm gonna have to start getting into it for sure. But once my kids, and I would love to go to your gym, by the way. I would love to learn some stuff in Philly for sure.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. Like I said, yeah, stay in contact, man. Let's definitely do it. And even if you can't do it on like, in person, I'm definitely open to doing something on like Zoom or something, just kind of getting it rolling. Especially, if you want to get your kids on it too. I teach a ton of kids and everything like that of all ages. I teach as young as 3, taught as old as like 72 years old. So like I'm more than willing to do it over Zoom too. And yeah, like I said, let's definitely do it.
Have you ever broken down, like, say something happened, a big knockout in the UFC, or say like
Yeah.
Joaquin Buckley, that spinning kick?
Right.
Have you ever made a video like breaking down why it worked? Because I feel like that's something that would be great that you can deliver.
I have not, but I have considered it because I think yesterday I posted a video of me doing like 6 different styles of axe kicks, which is like, I had to like swinging my leg like this way, I had it going the other way, like a 360, a jumping one. And then I was planning to do like a breakdown one of like all the same kicks. So I haven't done it yet, but I do think that is another thing that I would like to do on my channel because the very first video I did post was me tying on my belt, like for my students, because it was freaking driving me nuts. Because every time in class, it would always fall off, and there was like 5 kids' belts fall off in like the first 10 minutes of class. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. You kids need to learn how to tie your belt. So I'll post a YouTube video. And it got like, a couple thousand views. And I was like, whoa, like I
Yeah.
was only showing that for my students. And then I was like, okay, let's do this interview thing. And I kind of got away from the teaching aspect, but I do think that would be a little bit better for my channel because there is a lot of people that are willing to, learn and grow. And I do think I could do it for sure.
Yeah, that would be sick. That honestly, I would totally watch that. Like if a big knockout happens or something,
Yeah.
where you just kind of break it down why it worked and what to do to defend something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
holy shit! Like I see Wonder Boy put videos out on that, and I'm pretty sure
Yes.
they do pretty well. But I mean, that mix with your interviewing style and stuff. I think, dude, I think you have so many weapons that you can use to be successful.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I said, it's just my it's just my busy work schedule, man. Like I said, I'm working 12 or yeah, I have to leave from like 12:30 and then I don't get done till 9:30, then I don't get home till like 10:30. So really at the moment it's just like the interviews and then I'll try at work to maybe record something if I can, like when I have a little bit of downtime with like my kicks or something. But yeah, like I said, my busy schedule at the moment is kind of holding me back, but I think with more and more grind and more success, I definitely think I can get a little bit more free time and kind of keep doing more and more style of videos like you mentioned.
Hell yeah, man. Listen, dude, you got everything going for you. I'm happy that you asked me to come on the program because I'm a big fan already. I just started and now I'm in. I'm hooked on crazy Kev MMA. Let's go, baby.
Let's go. And yeah, man, like I said, your Cody Darden video is hilarious because getting back into the research and I usually when I'm cleaning and stuff, I usually throw on like a bunch of people's interviews to kind of, write my notes and just kind of get things down. And yeah, I like turn on your video and this like crazy intro is going on. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Like this guy's nuts. And then like, you had the guy on with the Bambi and everything. And I'm like, what is going on? This is awesome. But I was like, yeah, I got to get more of this style because I think the fighters really enjoy kind of that more chill, vibe with it too, especially because they're always like, getting the same old stuff. And I think that was why a big reason too why I wanted to get these interviews because it's like I don't want to hear about this same old thing like who's your training partners and stuff. I mean, obviously I asked that, but it gets old sometimes. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, when we just had Adrian Yanez on,
Oh,
and
okay.
like I fell into the rabbit hole of asking him traditional questions, and I was like, "Fuck, man!" And then we
Yeah.
kind of loosened up as the interview went on, and I opened up phone lines, and that kind of got it a little fun. But yeah, it's tricky because your audience wants to hear the text. They joke around and or harass the media for saying, "Oh, why did they ask this and that?" Because that's what they want. That's what fans want. They want to hear, how's your training camp because they're making bets. They want to hear, what's the weight cut like. They all want to hear that shit. But when a fighter's asked that over and over and over again, it's just like, fuck, man. It gets annoying. So yeah, you want to kind of talk to him in a way, like for instance, Sadiq Yusuf. Like this dude or Mike Davis, Beast Boy Mike Davis, like these guys don't even give a shit. Like they want to talk about Game of Thrones. They want to talk about video games. They want to talk
Yeah.
about anime. That's the shit they want to talk about. They don't want to be they're in the gym so long. It's like when you're making burgers at McDonald's. Do you want to fucking start eating McDonald's? No, you're making it all day at McDonald's, So I think that's the thing that you got to remind yourself, like, hey, they live this shit. Let's loosen them up and talk about something else.
Yeah, and I think another thing is too, you'll notice too with certain questions, they almost have like a certain answer that they'll always go with. Like I remember asking somebody like a pretty similar question, and then like they'll almost like word for word like say what they just said in like a different interview I just listened to, and I'll be like sitting there like, oh, like I already heard that, what I mean, from a different video. So yeah, I think that's the other good thing too about researching is like seeing what other people ask, so then you don't I fall into the same answer from a certain fighter because that's definitely happened to me once or twice. I'm like, oh, like I already heard you say that in a different interview, but whatever, you're already saying it now.
Yeah, I know. Like Bruce Buffer had a story that I didn't want him to repeat saying because I know he said it a million times, but I understood the value of him saying it. And I didn't ask them to ask it. Like I just didn't, I couldn't do it because
Yeah.
me personally, like you could hear that so many times and they're probably so sick of saying it. But then, especially if you're doing it live, they want to hear the story for some reason. People want to hear the hits, right? You go see a band and you want to fucking hear Freebird. You want to hear, I don't know, the biggest song that they got, they're repeating that over and over again. So sometimes you got to look at like, hey, this is their hit. This is their big story. They got to play the song, So it depends. I guess you got to play it, feel out the mood, if you're loose enough with the fighter and they're like, all right, I'll sing that song again, then let them sing it.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. And yeah, dude, this has been awesome, man. I've definitely enjoyed talking to you. And with that being said, what's maybe like a final message out there for the fans watching this video?
Well, listen, like I said, thank you for taking some time out, having me on your platform. Go subscribe to Crazy Kev's channel and subscribe to the MMA Holes on YouTube. Follow us at the MMA Holes on social, but YouTube is where we live. So go on over there, subscribe to that. And we're very excited. This week, we're dropping MMAholes.tv. Hopefully tomorrow we'll drop the promo. It's a retro thing with me and my wife, co-host. We put together. It's very fun. It's a website where when you watch the UFC, you're going to be able to interact with the site. We do fight buddies. It's going to be a whole fucking thing of fun every single UFC fight night and pay-per-view. So I promise you, you're going to want to check out MMAholes.tv. That's dropping this week.
Let's go. Hey, send me that link, man. I'd be more than happy to post that for you guys and promote it for you. So shoot me over whatever you got, and I'm more than happy, post it up on my Twitter or X, whatever they call it nowadays. And yeah, man, let's do it. And thank you again for coming on. It means a lot to me, seriously.
Kevin, I appreciate it again, and have a great day. Okay, let's go Rangers.
I was just about to say that, man. Enjoy your Rangers, man.